It's interesting, this past week I had quite a conversation. It's been 5 weeks now for our family, close to 5 weeks. And, if you're someone like us and many like you, I'm sure that you have gotten to a point where, your schedules, your daily routines are quite different. Um, so I wanted to share with you a little bit about some of the things that we're doing. We're trying to keep everything intact the best we can, try to keep a schedule in place every day, get up, have breakfast, shower, get dressed for the day, get ready for work. We have a home office downstairs where I am. Jennifer has a home office upstairs, and we try to keep that daily routine going. Don't have to dress up as much as I used to before. Some days I don't even wear pants. I'm just kidding. But the daily routine in terms of work is very structured. I know the leadership team, we meet 3 times a week virtually. We've really been taking technology to a whole new level here. I'm sure many of you are doing the same thing. The evenings, though, a little different. One thing that I find that works for me and could well work for you is I reach out to people. And if you know somebody that, you may want to reach out to, or they may want to call from hearing from family or friends or those kind of things. I know over the past week I kept Artie Kennedy up way too late, back and forth with Paul McKenzie a few times. Of course, Peter, Jerry, and Kent and Scott, we talk in the evenings about the show. That's been very helpful. I had a great chat to Walter Chivery this week. Just an opportunity just to reach out and talk to people. I find that really helps and try to keep that structure. Today was a beautiful day across Prince Edward Island. We spent the day here, of course, at home, and many of you should be. And we were working outside in the sunshine and the fresh air, and we're doing the lawn work and setting up the deck and those kind of things. Now, in the harness racing community, of course, I know, very busy day today. Today's a Saturday, so a lot of horses out going today. The babies are out going as well. And I know all the people in the harness racing community doing their part to be safe and to follow those guidelines have done just an excellent job with that. A couple of housekeeping items first before we roll into the get our hosts and get linked in with them. First of all, where you can find us tonight, you can find us on Facebook, on the Universum Facebook page, UMI Sports, of course, Scott McLean working things behind the control room tonight. We really appreciate that. And also, you can find us, if you're not on Facebook and you have some friends that are not on Facebook and they want to tune in to the virtual tack room, then you can also go to redshores.ca, click on the live racing tab, and you'll find the virtual tack room banner. And that's where you'll find the show as well. Sponsors. Well, the Atlantic Provinces Harness Racing Commission, another sponsor tonight. They were a sponsor last week. They're a sponsor tonight. We really do appreciate that. And, of all the comments and phone calls that we've had over the past number of weeks with this show, we've also had some other companies that are reaching out to us. JD Marine and Diving reached out. Cam McPhee had a great chat with him. They want to be part of the show. We appreciate that. Lane McPherson with another hat, his farm hat on with Hamac Farms. They want to be part of the show. So we really do appreciate all of that and all of you for taking the time to tune in. So let's bring in our host now, my co-host for tonight, and let's go to our locations there and get set up. Back out to Cornwall we go tonight for my co-host with Red Shores, and of course Peter will be together again soon, but we're here with the virtual tack room tonight. Good evening to you, Peter McPhee.
Hi, Lee, and hi, Jim. Kenny's on the phone. I know, Lee, again, I follow up your words. We've been walking here in Cornwall, Val and the girls and I getting out every day, which is great. Talking to a lot of old friends from Toronto, Lee. Spent some time up there in the 90s, so catching up with them. And Lee, looking forward to a great show tonight with Claire McDonald, Austin Sorey, and Paul McKenzie. Going to be a great show.
Yes, it certainly is. And let's go over now and bring in Jerry McCabe, who's going to help us this week. It's been a busy week, Jerry, and we got quite a show lined up. Good to see you.
Likewise. Thanks, Lee. Peter, good to see everyone. Good to be back for another week. Always looking forward to our weekly trips down memory lane. Keeping active around here, doing a little bit of painting, getting some walking in every day, and I work half a day each week, so keeping things as normal as possible and just taking a day at a time.
That's right. It's great that we talk about that, and I think it's important. I'm blessed to be a member of a team with Red Shores Atlantic Lottery, who not only is a great team but care about each other, and that's important. That reaching out, like we talk about, is a great thing to do. Another gentleman that gets a lot of my calls here, one of the co-creators of the creator of this show, is Ken Oakes, and he's with us again tonight in the virtual tack room. Good evening, Ken. Do we have Ken Oakes on the line? We might have a bit of a technical glitch with Kent there. Let us see if he gets signed back in, and Scott will keep me updated over here on my prompter to see when Kent gets back into the fray there. But I know he's really looking forward to the show as well tonight. Our first guest tonight, we're going to be going on the road all the way to Antigonish, Nova Scotia. And what a great road trip we had just a few weeks ago, Peter, when we're on our way to Cape Breton. And we stopped into Darren Crow's, and we had planned to stop in to Claire McDonald's place, Claire and Kenny's, and we just didn't have a chance to get there at that point. But we did give her a call on the way by. But it's certainly a pleasure to have Claire McDonald tonight, one of the most successful female drivers, the most successful female drivers in Canada, over 1,400 winners to her credit. And we're going to go through a number of great memories here tonight. I think we have Claire here now. We're going to Claire McDonald in Antigonish. Claire, are you there?
I am so.
There you are. Good to see you, Claire.
Yeah,
I want to start off with how are you doing? How are things going with you and your family during these times?
Well, it's kind of business as usual for us here. Like, I normally don't race this time of year, so I'm just still prepping colts, and it hasn't made a big difference in our day-to-day lives. Now, if it carries on for a long time, it's going to have a huge impact. But I guess we're all in this together, so we'll just ride it out.
Wonderful. Now, you were saying tonight the weather here was pretty good today, but you were just saying a little beforehand that you might have some snow on the way tonight. Is that true?
That's what they're predicting. We could get anywhere between 10 and 20 centimeters between midnight tonight and noontime tomorrow. But, today the dust was flying. We had a gorgeous day. But that's
a lot of activity on your track there today, Claire.
We have 12 going, so six 3-year-olds and 6 2-year-olds. So it's a full day.
All right, wonderful. Well, it's great to have you on part of the show tonight. We're going to take you back to a number of special races here, and got some great photos lined up as well tonight. But I mentioned that number off the top there tonight, which is so impressive, with 1,470 wins and counting, and so many special moments in your career. But before we dive into a few of the moments that we have selected tonight, could you take us back to your memory of your first win and what that was like for prepping for and getting that first win? Could you share with that memory for us?
Sure. Actually, my first 2 wins came with the same horse, a little horse called Delmore's Chief, and he was owned by a neighbor and really good friend, Archie Chisholm, and he raised him here just outside of Antigonish. My father trained him. I trained him a lot, and he was an honest little racehorse, not extremely fast, but kind of give you a good honest effort every night, and I think it was maybe my 4th lifetime drive, but he turned the trick 2 weeks in a row in Sackville for me.
Well, and I was going to ask. That's where it was in Sackville, eh?
I think around March of '77.
Wow.
Made me feel
we have.
This week you mentioned that Earl Smith had won races in 7 decades, and I thought, holy God, that's a long time. And then I got thinking, well, if I win a race in 2020, and hopefully we will race enough times that I'll be able to squeeze out at least one, I'll have won in 6 decades. So I don't feel that young tonight either.
Well, you do. You look fantastic, and yeah, I mean, it's impressive. I think one thing that this show has done, the virtual tack room, is at a time when we have to stay together, it's an opportunity to come, or stay apart rather, and it's an opportunity to come together, and we get a chance to go back through memory lane and revisit and relive some of those great moments. I'm going to take you back to one here, to 1994, a PI Colt Stakes with the Trotters, West River Exotic, and I'm going to throw to Jerry McCabe to set up some impressive stats and wins with this horse before we take you through the race. Jerry, over to you.
Thanks, Lee. Hard to believe, almost 30 years ago, West River Exotic came on the scene. He was a homebred son, Ambro Classic out of the Horton Hanover mare, West River Ecstasy. Claire and the farm bred him. He was the maritime champion, both at 2 and 3 in 1993 and 94. In his sophomore season, he became the trotter of a generation. He broke the all-age track record in Fredericton and Atlantic Sire Stakes there. 2:01 mile. That still stands as the track record up in Fredericton. A week later in St. John in the Atlantic Sire Stakes, he astounded maritime race fans with the first miracle mile ever by any trotter of any age, by any breed, when he won in 1:59 and 4. Over 25 lengths, distanced the rest of the field. He showed up, we're going to watch a little bit later, his race following in the PI Colt Stakes. He was almost unblemished that year. He did get defeated in elimination of the Dairy Queen when he made a break. But other than that, he was flawless. They sold him before the year was over, and he moved on to Ontario Connections and went on from there to prove that he was a great maritime bred trotter. Over the next couple of years, he raced some of the top trotters in North America, including horses like Westgate Crown, Good Times, Glory's Comet. He took a record of 1:55 and 2 as a 4-year-old at the Meadowlands. And in his racing career, he earned over $377,000. A record at that time for a maritime bred trotter, lasted until Waiting on a Woman surpassed it here not too long ago. And his 1:55 and 2 speed badge was also a record for any maritime bred trotter at that time. Just a truly phenomenal trotter.
Mm-hmm. Excellent resume there for sure. And before we get to the race and over to Peter, I think Ken Oakes is back with us now. Are you back, Kent?
Yes, I am, folks.
Well, great to have you on the show tonight, Virtual Attack Room. We lost your connection a little earlier. We have Claire McDonald with us now, and want to bring you into the conversation, Ken.
Oh, thank you very much, and good evening, Claire. Thanks for coming on. Claire, how early on with West River Exotic did you think that we have something really special here?
Probably by Christmas time, when of his yearling year, he seemed to have an air about him, and he was extremely good gaited and quite a professional colt right from the beginning. Just had a tremendous gait. Like he could float a mile. When we'd first start turning the 2-year-olds in the spring, the trotters generally here in our farm track, you're looking to get a mile and 55 or 50 out of them, and he could train right along with the pacing colts. He'd just float a mile. I think probably the first time I turned him, he trotted a mile and 40 and would just do it effortlessly, and he just always seemed to have that little extra kick to him. I know, for those that are familiar with my track, the turns are fairly sharp, and a lot of times late in the spring when you're starting to test them pretty good, you'll spin them off the last turn heading for home, and you might feel your cart give a little slide because they're accelerating quite a bit, and you'd never have to worry about that with a trotter. But Exotic could come out of the turn just as good as any of the pacers I had at the time, and he would have been competitive with the pacing group, I think, of his age, because
Exactly.
Guy on the was the stellar 3-year-old colt that and he was winning the pacing divisions in 59, and so he was certainly a long ways ahead of his time.
Well, Peter, we know about this race. We had a chance to preview it a little bit this week. That's part of the fun of putting the show together throughout the week. You have a chance to view some of these races, and your thoughts of the 94 PI Colt Stakes with West River Exotic.
Yeah, I just want to ask Claire before we go to the race. Claire, you talked about him getting him ready, but on the track, what was it best about him? What were some of his best traits? Was his ability to leave, his ability to race from a hole? What was it on the track that made him a really, really great horse?
He was a super mannered big colt. He'd get a little bit headstrong sometimes, but he didn't have to worry about leaving most of the time because, and they were Ralph Anier's heydays too, so he usually looked after the first part of the miles. I just like to lick up the gravy at the end.
Well, you know what? We're going to show the end here, close to it too. This was a race back in 1994 PI Colt Stakes. We get some photos after this as well. But let's bring you back to the CDP that night with the West River Exotic here on the Virtual Attack Room.
PEI Colt Stakes 3-year-old trotters has won West River Exotic, 2 Dons Classic, 3 Princetown Mark, 4 Hedgerow Horton, 5, Dunmore Quigley. 6, Island Olympics. 7 outside, Nick Way Joe. Trailing horse 8. That's Rustico by the Bay. Here they come. Here we go, Nancy. They're off and trotting. Princetown Mark, Hedgerow, Horton, and Nick Way Joe up on the outside as they go trotting into the first turn. Hedgerow, Horton showing the way up front. Trotting second is Nick Way Joe. Back third is Don's Classic. Fourth is West River Exotic. From 5 is Dunmore Quigley. They go trotting to the opening quarter. Hedgerow, Horton showing the way up front. Nick Way Joe is trotting second. Don's Classic closing the gap third. There goes West River Exotic moving up on the outside in 4. From 5 is Dunmore Quigley. Then it's Princetown Mark, Rustico by the Bay. And Island Olympic is trailing 30-3 by the opening quarter. They come trotting off the top turn, led by Hedgerow, Horton up front. Nick Way Joe is trotting second. Don's Classic is third. West River Exotic ready to move in 4 as they trot by the half-mile mark, led by Hedgerow, Horton up front. Nick Way Joe is on the outside second. Don's Classic trotting third. West River Exotic is ready in 4. From 5, Dunmore Quigley. Half a mile trotted in 1:02. 3/8 left to go. Backside final time. Hedgerow, Horton on top. Nick Way Joe is trotting second. Don's Classic is third. West River Exotic is moving in 4. Dunmore Quigley fifth. Up front, Nick Way Joe is going to the top. There he goes! West River Exotic! Up 3 wide on the outside. West River Exotic 3 wide and going to the top. Nick Way Joe is going with him second. 1:33-3 by the 3/4 mile mark. Putting on a show now. West River Exotic turning it on through the line. The Maritime champion wins it by open legs. West River Exotic to win it. It's close for second and third.
Well, Claire, one thing about that race, when we bring you back to that, and you have a look there, it must bring back a lot of memories for you. It was a little dicey getting away there, when they left the gate, and you were back off them a piece. But boy, did your horse really come on there when you made that 3-high move down the backstretch?
Well, he did, but the most incredible part about that mile was there was quite a bit of hype going into that race because he just set the Maritime record in St. John, and he was really, really sharp then. And I'd been interviewed 2 or 3 times. Do you think he can break the track record at Charlottetown? I said, yeah, I really think he can, because Charlottetown was always a faster track for trotters than St. John ever was. And I did have full intentions of letting him ramble that night and just seeing how fast he could trot, because I figured if he could beat 2 minutes in St. John, he'd probably get pretty close to 59 in Charlottetown. About the flower bed behind the gate, I realized something was wrong, and I just eased him out. What was wrong was I only had one shaft hooked. Basically couldn't double him up, take much hold of him. If you watch the replay close when he's clearing to the front finishing, you'll just see the outside shaft is unhooked. It's held by the safety strap, which is why we wear safety straps, but it's just bouncing up and down. If I was to take too much hold or get jostled at all, I was going to be in serious trouble. If he wasn't such a gifted horse, and if I wasn't as Scotch as I am and wanted to see how much of the purse I could get, I probably, for safety reasons, I probably should have pulled him up. But, I'll just float along and take my time, and I can probably, just ease him around. And when I pointed him to the outside, up the backside, he had all kinds of trot, and he was very capable that night of probably putting on a heck of a show, but I didn't have him harnessed all the way so I could turn him loose.
Wow, that's an incredible story. I think Scott does have some photos here. I believe there's a winner's circle photo coming up here. next, and I'm going to get Kent to walk through here on that race that night. I see a very familiar face at the front, that's for sure. Norman Hall, he's done a lot of presentations over the years, from
Miss,
coolers to
yeah,
plates to.
yeah, yeah. He's still passing me out plaques.
That's right.
Yeah, this was the Lee O'Brien Memorial race as indicated there, and I think from left we have Norman Hall and of course Claire's husband Kenny. I see Joe Kennedy there along with Claire and Alden O'Brien and Blair Kelly, members of their family. And is that Nellie or Mark next to you there, Claire?
I'm trying to see which is which. I think it's both of them.
Okay,
Maybe.
they're both there. Yeah. It was a, certainly remember that race, and it was kind of amazing to see that horse trotting that much coming through the stretch. And as you say, you could see the outside shaft moving, and it was just a remarkable performance.
Yeah, he was a really special colt. He had a tremendous amount of personality. He was always, one of those colts when you went into the barn, if you were having a poor day and it was time to jog exotic, he'd lift you up.
That's an incredible, really is though, Claire, an incredible story when you talk about the shaft. I mean, that's one of the things you go back. Like, was there any no doubt in your mind there when you got rolling that I mean, as a trotter too, sometimes trotters can be a little finicky. So this guy had to be very, very solid in keeping his mind on his business. Don't think it
Yeah,
bothered him any.
he was really solid. I think the when you mentioned that he got beat in the eliminations for the Dairy Queen, it was all home week and just swinging off the turn around by the old canteen, and the Ferris wheel was in operation in behind McGregor's barn at that time. And when we came off the turn, he just got kind of gawking and looking up at the Ferris wheel and completely lost his concentration and rolled off stride, which was unlike him because he'd usually mind his manners well, and especially late in the mile, if he was going to make a break, it would be when if you stepped him off the gate maybe a little bit too much. But he just got distracted, and it was an immature thing for him to do, and he made very few mistakes, so I didn't hold it against him.
Right. Excellent. Well, that's a great story. And now we're going to move on to another career star, a stable star, Kilkerran Ingle here. And this is back in 1992 with the Cup at Truro Raceway. And Jerry, once again, set up another impressive resume on this horse.
Sure. Kilkerran Ingle was another generational horse from that era. He was lightly raced at 2, owned and bred by Doug Ferguson's Kilkerran Farms. He was a full brother to Kilkerran Fury, that star from the late 1980s. Emmons McKay raced him at 2 and 3 and 4, actually. As a 3-year-old, he cleaned up in the Atlantic Sire Stakes, set all-time record for maritime breds, 156 over the track in Dieppe, the 5/8 mile track, and a 56 and 3 track record for 3-year-olds over Truro, Atlantic Sire Stakes record. He also set a maritime record with nearly $74,000 in earnings that year, and he was named Atlantic Canada's Horse of the Year for 1991. The following year, he picked up right up where he left off. He won the Governor's Plate in Summerside, became the first maritime bred to win both that race and the Gold Cup and Saucer with a stakes record of 156 in the Gold Cup that year. In between, Claire McDonald got to catch drive him in the Nova Scotia Provincial Exhibition Cup, and they set a track record of Truro there in that event. He came back a year later. This time he was being trained by Doug's brother Jack, and Claire was doing the driving. And in the end of July in 1993, he became the first horse to break the 155 barrier over a half-mile track in Atlantic Canada, setting a new track record of 54 and 4 at Truro Raceway. He then proceeded to win the Gold Cup trial that year during Old Home Week, the second of 3 trials. We'll pick that story up a little later in the evening, and then was third in the Gold Cup and Saucer that summer as well.
Right. So, Kent, we all remember Ingle, what a great horse, and as Jerry has pointed out there. But some of your comments about Kilkerran Ingle and in this race in particular, and your memories.
Oh, amazing horse, terrific career. Claire, I remember being at the Churro on the occasions when he set the track record there. And what I recall was just probably as loud a crowd from noise from the Churro fan base as I've ever heard when they were coming through the stretch in that race. That's what I recall from that race.
I think Doug and Jack were very well respected in the backside, and had a huge following, and the horse increased that because he was an attention getter. Ingle, he was impressive looking on the track. The white hind legs and the black body and the big white face, and he was pure power. He just he didn't often dominate races early, but he had tremendous stamina, and just the farther he went, the more he swole up, and the more power he showed you.
Peter, this race, the fans of Truro Kent were just talking about a race like this and how exciting it was, and a win like this at Truro Raceway, and your thoughts on the race.
I'd like to get Claire's thoughts, Lee, going into that race. Claire, did you think you had a great chance to win?
Yeah, I would say I did, because he was a horse that was so drivable. He'd always wait, and he'd track other horses. He loved to chase horses, and when you asked him to go, he gave every ounce that was in him.
Okay, we're going to take a look at the race now. Lee, we'll go to the race here in Truro, 1992, Claire, and Kilkerran Ingle setting a track record. We'll get Claire's comments after the race.
Race number 10 of the evening is the Truro Horsemen's Club Exhibition Cup Invitational from the Railroad King Potter with Gary McDonald, Kilkerran Fury, and Emmons McKay. Keystone Lingo with Robert Laughlin, Kilkerran Ingle with Claire McDonald. 5 is Warp Zone with Ian Moore. 6, Charlie Sham with Paul McDonald. Wins of Peace is 7 with Earl Smith. And 8, Christopher C. Down with Jody Hennessy. They're at the top of the stretch, and here they come. They're off and pacing. King Tyler at the rail is away quickly with Kilkerran Fury on the outside looking for the lead. Kilkerran Ingle gets away on the limb third. Keystone Lingo down at the rail is fourth. Up on the outside, caught 3 wide into the early going, moving into 4. That's Winds of Peace. They head to the backstretch for time 1. Kilkerran Ingle now forging on to the top. Outside, Winds of Peace is racing second. Down at the rail and sitting third past the opening quarter is Kilkerran Fury. King Tyler at the rail is sitting in 4th. Warp Zone next in line 5. Keystone Lingo races in 6. Charlie Sham is 7th. And Christopher C. Down is the early trailer. 27 and 2/5 seconds, the opening quarter. They move off the top turn. Kilkerran Ingle is leading the way by 1 length as they round the top turn in front of the grandstand. Winds of Peace has found the pocket. Racing out the rail third, Kilkerran Fury. Here comes Warp Zone moving up first over. Following live cover is Keystone Lingo. Kilkerran Fury gets locked in at the rail. Then King Tyler, Charlie Sham, and Christopher C. Down trails. They move over to the 5/8, 56 and 4. They move on to the 3/4. Kilkerran Ingle, he's still alive in the front end, leads it by 2. Winds of Peace second. Here comes Keystone Lingo on the outside. He takes over second. Out there, 3 wide. Charlie Sham is coming third. Dropping back, Winds of Peace is 4th. They move on to the 7/8. It's Kilkerran Ingle clear by 2. On the outside, Charlie Sham is racing second. 1:26 and 2. We have a shot at the track record. Kilkerran Ingle leading it by 2. Keystone Lingo is sitting second. Charlie Sham third. Through the stretch, Kilkerran Ingle, he's widening the gap to 3. Kilkerran Ingle wins the Provincial Exhibition Cup. Second is Keystone Lingo, and finishing third is Charlie Sham. Ladies and gentlemen, now parading back into Victory Lane. The winner of the 1992 Truro Horsemen's Club Exhibition Cup Invitational number 4, Kilkerran Ingle. He's a 4-year-old brown son of Oil Count out of the Rhythm Time Dam Libby Time Rigs, owned by Doug Ferguson of Tatamagouche, driven to victory by the First Lady of Canadian Harness Racing, Claire McDonald. We've just witnessed the fastest mile ever paced over Truro Oval. Kilkerran setting a new track record, 1:55 and 4/5.
Well, Claire, when you look back on the race like that, you were leaving from post 4, so you had to be happy when the draw came out earlier in the week. But boy, you really meant business there. I mean, I guess safe to say that you felt you had the best, and you're going to put the best on point and control this thing.
Well, he was just he was a super horse. I think whoever was going to sit in the seat, as long as they turned him the same way as the rest when he went behind the gate, he was going to put on a pretty good show.
Well, he certainly did that
Did
night.
you think you had the
I
track
want to take
record
it
throughout
back.
the mile, Claire?
What's that, Peter?
Did you think you had the track record when you going through the fractions, the opening quarter and the half? Did you think you had a shot at the record?
I did, yeah. And he, I guess ever the conservative, I probably should have shook him a little bit more because he was still on his, cruising on his own that night. I didn't chase him on. He still had a lot of career ahead of him, and I don't like to waste much.
Claire, it had to be when you look back on it now too. Obviously, a special moment then, but special moments, of course, when you get to relive them like this. The crowd that night in Truro, I know Peter mentioned a little earlier, but when you get to hear it and see it again, because you're living in the moment, that had to be very special. That was quite a round of applause you and the ownership connections had when that horse came back to the winner's circle that night.
Yeah, I guess it's been a while since I saw that replay, and it is incredible. The roar from the crowd, and also how excited my old school buddy Joe Kelly was getting. He really got into it. Started to sound like Vance there.
That's right. Yeah, some great calls too. Joe Kelly, Boomer Glenn, and the other one there a little earlier. Some of those great calls. Last week we had Ed Waters on too, so that was wonderful. The thing about the virtual tack room, and it's brought to you tonight by the Atlantic Provinces Harness Racing Commission, and a thank you to them. But we get a chance to get some great videos and some photos. I know we have some other photos that are coming up here, and we're going to bring you down memory lane. You've won some great races. But you've also been part of some very special competitions over the years as well. And I know we're going to bring you down to have a look at some of those photos as well. And Jerry's going to walk us through those. So I think we have a photo coming up right now, do we? Yeah.
This one's back to.
Yeah, yes,
Kent,
Lee,
this is the track record one.
The track record photo, and some of the folks, as mentioned, Jack Ferguson holding the horse on the left, a long time secretary manager of the Atlantic Sire Stakes. Jack, of course, was Doug's brother. Some other people we see in the photo there is Tommy Hollis, Doug Ferguson, the owner, alongside Claire and some of Claire's family. And on the right, we have Gail McAvoy, who would have been general manager in Truro at the time, and our Claire and I's mutual friend Cyril Reddy, who was the chairman of the Atlantic Grand Circuit Week for quite a few years there in Truro. So it's a pretty great photo.
Yeah, and the reason at that time that Jack was training the horse was Doug had suffered a heart attack that year, so he was kind of on the sidelines, but Jack handled the job admirably.
Well, when we talk about photos, we're going to take you back to 1979 now. And how about this photo, Jerry?
You've competed in quite a few of these over the years, Claire. The old Powder Puff Derby.
Yeah.
First started in Truro in 1969. This wasn't the very first one, but the 10th anniversary. The first one, they were all amateur drivers. By this time, most of the girls had pari-mutuel driving licenses. Do you remember most of that crew, or?
Yeah, the starting on the far left in the red polka dot suit was Lecky Langley from Moncton. Marcia Noonan is beside her. That's Darlene Rankin Costello next to that. Joan Sowers, Debbie Carey, myself, and Lynn McLeod, Jackie McLeod's sister.
Yeah. And on the far right is Donald Lamke from New Brunswick as well.
Yep.
Some great memories.
That must have been fun, Claire. You know, when you're competing in those type of competitions and people to get together for that, because not only a lot of friendly competitions on the track too, you have a great bond with many of them on and off the track.
Oh yeah, and they're all, they're always exciting to be, and you get to drive horses that you don't know from Adam. You just get up and go with them, and everybody's at on the same level. It's I always look forward to the driving competitions. I think at that time though, I was maybe 16 or 17 at the most. The rest had a little more experience and a little more uh, knowledge maybe, but I was game.
Next, we have the West River Diesel, which was a horse that was, of course, bred at Claire's and Kenny's farm, and they've still got certainly connections to the genetics of this family today. And Diesel was owned by, if I recall correctly, Claire, the Turbo Racing Stable, and I remember members of the Turbo Racing Stable were yourself, Cyril Reddy, Joe Kennedy, Pat McNeil, if I recall correctly, Claire. And
Yeah,
was it Judy
and
Zink
Judy
as
Zink.
well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about Diesel and the experiences you had with him. He was a fast horse, wasn't he?
He was. He was a Harrods, and his full sister would be the Grand Dam of West River Amber, who more people are familiar nowadays with. But Diesel was incredibly fast. He was a little goofy. He hated stuff touching his face, and that's why he wore. You'll see there, he's got a screen over his face, and there's quite a few horses will wear screens now, but he it was kind of unheard of 30 years ago or whenever I was racing him. It was, I just through trial and error just tried to experiment with stuff that would get him to go up close to behind other horses, and it finally struck on something that would work. And I owned him solely as a 2 and 3 year old, and then was anxious to keep him rather than sell him and see him leave the Maritimes. So we set up a partnership with the other three and or other four, and we were able to retain him here and race him in the invitationals. And he held his own. He especially in the fall, he seemed to be a horse with a lot of allergy problems, and sometimes wouldn't just be quite as sharp in the summer in the heat. But he was the kind of the Reggie Jackson of the free frawlers. October and November, he was just awesome every year. We sent him to Foxborough and he raced there, and he developed EPM, and that ended his racing career, and it was my first experience with that uh, inflection. And we took him home, and he went to a retirement home on the island, and lived for a few years, and then he was starting to get quite debilitated, and I asked him to put him down, and but he had been awful good to us for his racing career.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I remember traveling around with Cyril, following Diesel and Artie Kennedy and our crew there, and it was an exciting time. Next, Lee, we have a picture from. I understand this was an event to recognize Skip York in Truro, and from the left, I understand with Jerry's help, we have Eddie Ellis, Frankie Fagan. I see there's Calvin Eisner in behind. Next to Calvin is Lyle Carter, who writes for the newspaper in Truro. Emmons McKay, Claire's dad, Ed Haley. Frankie Daniels is there as well. Frankie, of course, was the first driver of the Maritimes to win 1,000 races here. Longtime USTA director. And help me out, Claire. Is that Pooker next to you?
That is Pooker right behind Skip. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
Cheryl.
Claire, tell us. Sorry, go ahead.
Between Chucky O'Connor, between Emmons and Frankie Fagan, I'm pretty sure.
Right on. Yeah. Claire, your dad was a very well respected and successful horse person. Um, Tell us about, the main things that you learned from your dad growing up and you've taken forward in your successful career in harness racing.
Well, he was a tremendous horseman, and he came from the same era as Joe O'Brien. Dad was 3 years older than Joe, and raced against Joe and his brothers a lot, and was great friends with them. In fact, I remember Joe recalling different evenings and saying, "Eddie, why don't you come down and train with me?" And it's ironic, the O'Briens are about the only people that used to refer to my father as Eddie, and they all did. Lester Chappell might have been the only other one that would not use Ed or Edward, but he was devoted to here and raising horses here, raising a family here, and he was superintendent of highways in Antigonish for I think 17 or 19 years, and it would have been my brother that would have carried on the farm and the racing stable, but unfortunately he was killed at a very young age, so Dad came more or less back at a full time work for, and took over the horses again. And when I got old enough, I pitched straight in and decided that that's where my love lay as well. And he always taught you, basic horsemanship. If you were good to the horse, they'd be good to you, and you had to put a lot of time and effort into it, and you'd be rewarded. And and that's the basis of how we exist.
Well, fantastic when it comes to the great photos that we've had and videos. We're not finished yet, Claire. We still have another segment of this to go, all part of our opening quarter segment tonight on the virtual tack room tonight. And we're going to bring you back now to October 5th, 2019, so a bit more current. And Woodmere Roland Pop. This is part of the Island Breeders, and Jerry again. With a lot of these horses that we're featuring tonight with Claire. Claire, you've had so many great stable stars. Jerry, take us through some of the summary on this horse.
Sure. Woodmere Roland Pop was a $15,500 yearling purchase at the Atlantic Classic sale by Maura Keir and Fonzie McCachran, longtime owners for Claire. And he's the latest in a long line of colts and fillies that partnership has had. Last year at 2, he won an Atlantic Sire Stake event in Truro, a division of the Callbeck Stakes in Summerside, a division of the Nova Scotia Stake at Northside Downs, and an elimination in the final of the Maritime Breeders in the fall. He had 14 starts, 8 wins, 2 seconds, and $51,461 of earnings. He took his record of 57-3 in his last start of the year, winning the Maritime Breeders final at Truro. Quite a nice start to a career.
Yeah, he's a really talented. Maybe some of those losses I can take full credit for the simple reason that when I raced him in St. John, Jill's colt was undefeated at that time, and we went into that race and I think Jill's colt was starting to feel some effects of the summer, and it consequently had to be stopped. With not that long after that, they discovered he had a slight fracture, but Rolly raced, superb. We got to the front, and he got the job done. I'm kind of a stickler because we do everything ourselves. We break them, we train them, we shoe them, and race them. So when I was in the test barn after the race, I noticed that he'd put a little mark on one knee, and I thought, maybe, maybe I better put knee boots on him, because you're taught from a young age it's a lot easier to put a boot on than take a big knee off. So the next day I raced him, I put knee boots on him, and he almost committed suicide. As soon as he touched the boot, he made a stinking rotten break in Charlottetown, and took him to North Sydney the next week. He did the same thing. Decided that was on a Saturday. He was in to go the end of the following week back in Charlottetown. Well, now I have to qualify. I made 2 breaks in a row. the only opportunity I'm going to have is he's going to get right back on the truck the next morning and go to Inverness. So I thought, well, he made all his money up to this point, and he went over St. John and beat the arguably the best colt in the Maritimes without knee boots. I think I'll take them off. So I did, and we raced him the rest of the season without knee boots, and he was fine. But had I not been overcautious and left the boots in the barn, I think I would have probably had 2 better races under my belt than 2 breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And how's he training back, Claire?
He's training really well. He was in 20, I guess, or 22 with him the other day, and he's a big, strong, able colt this year, and has tremendous manners. He's a very brainy colt. We've had 5 now, or we've had 5 out of that mare, and the rest were articulators, and they were a little on the warm side, and he's just a dream of a colt to do anything with. He can, go as slow as you like or as fast as you like. Matter of asking.
So Claire, just before we get to Woodmere Roll and Pop, quickly just on the wins, Lee mentioned 1,470 lifetime wins. You were the first Canadian female to get to 1,000. What was that like for you accomplishing that feat?
It's quite an accomplishment when you consider that, for the most part, the last 20 years or more, I've only raced during the summer and only raced stake colts. Don't race very many overnight horses, and also over that time span, I've had 3 pregnancies, so I missed some time there too. But we generally race now. We race from May until 1st of November, so you don't get a chance to rack up a whole lot of extra drives. You have to make good on the opportunities you have. But we've been fortunate to have some really competitive stake colts over the years, and you keep grinding away. You get pick up 35, 40 wins a year, and they add up if you stay at it long enough.
Did you always want to drive, Claire? Was that something that you wanted to do right from the get-go?
Yeah. If I always thought if I'm going to do the work in the barn and I'm going to do the work on the track, I'm going to try to reap the glory too. I really enjoy driving. I've had a few bumps and bruises along the way, but you dust yourself off and get back at it.
And Claire, before we go to the race, I just want to give credit to Kenny as well, because you were talking to our co-host Kurt Hughes earlier this year on the Inside Track, and you mentioned just how important it is for track maintenance and to get the track ready, to get these horses ready to race. So a shout out to Kenny as well.
Well, if maybe sometime when you guys are driving by on the way to Kibretton some year, you'll stop in. We have a really good training track. We don't have to leave here until qualifying day, and kudos go to Kenny, because he's probably one of the best track men in the Maritimes. They just don't know it yet.
Excellent.
Well,
Claire, next time we will stop in, believe me.
We're going to go to Woodmere Roll and Pop now. Claire, we'll watch you win with that horse in Charlottetown last October.
Post time. The rough and pacing Windermere Ryan, Woodmere Roll and Pop, and the big chase leaving out. 4th into the turn is J.J. Austin. Coming up 5th on the outside, Woodmere Roll Harry-O. 6 towards the rail, Nothing to Prove. You Bet I'm Watching, and on the outside, the Triller, Mr. Kelly. On the backstretch they go. J.J. Austin has gone off stride. Going to the quarter pole, led by Woodmere Roll and Pop for Claire McDonald. 2nd is Windermere Ryan, the big chase now 3rd. With them 4th is Woodmere Roll Harry-O. Nothing to Prove goes 5th, and 6th is Mr. Kelly. Then You Bet I'm Watching, and the Triller, J.J. Austin, 28-4, that front quarter, as they move round the turn for the first time, led by Woodmere Roll and Pop. 2-hole ride belongs to Windermere Ryan. There goes the big chase to the outside 3rd. Woodmere Roll Harry-O 4th. Nothing to Prove 5th. Mr. Kelly in 6th. You Bet I'm Watching 7th. And the trailer, that is J.J. Austin halfway home, led by Woodmere Roll and Pop in 58-4 from the outside. Here comes the big chase up to challenge for the lead. Windermere Ryan in the pocket is there 3rd. Woodmere Roll Harry-O at long, and I mean long odds, coming 4th on the outside. 3 wide 5th, You Bet I'm Watching. Mr. Kelly 6th. Nothing to Prove 7th. And the trailer, J.J. Austin, are at 3/4. Woodmere Roll and Pop is is still there. The Big Chase hanging second. Third at the rail, Windermere Ryan. Woodmere Roll Harry on the inside fourth. 3/4 in one. 28 and 3 in their homeward bound now. Led by Woodmere Roll and Pop. Windermere Ryan coming with them now. Third, the Big Chase. Woodmere Roll Harry fourth. They're in deep. Stretch now. And it is Woodmere Roll and Pop for the Queen, Claire McDonald. Second, Windermere Ryan. Mr. Kelly rallied up third in 1:58-2. There's the inquiry.
Well, there it is, another great memory there, Claire, and just recent. But of course, that was quite a race too, and it was interesting. You had to feel confident. You did a shoulder check there at the half to see who was going to move, and but boy, you had it well in hand there. Walter had to sneak out there at the end or wanted to get out, but horse raced really well.
He did, and like that was after, having the brakes on his card and having to go, kind of a tough trip. He went from here to North Sydney on a Saturday, had a rotten race, back home that night, back to Inverness on Sunday. So it was a grueling week for him. That's a tough task for a 2-year-old, mid-career, and he was maybe a little bit laggy finishing that day just because the edge was off him. He was getting tired. He needed a week to freshen up.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fantastic. Well, you know what, Claire, the virtual tack room tonight coming to an end with this segment here. We have so many great videos and photos and that we could take you through. And I know that interview we did with on the inside track with Kurt Hughes. It was a great opportunity to hear more about all the great things you do with the young horses, and we really look forward to see you coming back in 2020. And it's been a pleasure to talk with you. Hope you and Kenny and your family stay well and stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to be on, and in these strange times, it's great to have something to watch in the evenings and kind of reminisce and stay attached to, or stay in tune with the racing community, because we all miss it, because it's a big part of our lives.
Thank you, Claire.
Thanks, Claire.
Thanks,
All the best, Claire.
That's Claire McDonald and the opening quarter here tonight in the virtual tab brought to you tonight for the Atlantic Provinces Harness Racing Commission. And we're going to move over to the half now and bring in our next guest. We come forth with him tonight, and I think wise we have him back. And of course, Paul McKenzie is closing in on close to 9,000 career wins. 8,054 is the number right now. And I've been talking to him back and forth this week. Of course, started here in Charlotte, very successful with Flamborough and throughout Ontario, and he's in his Ontario tonight. Paul McKenzie, are you there?
Yeah, guys, what's going on? It's just like Saturday
Paul.
Night Hoedown. We're just missing Ingham Palmer.
That's right. Gosh, we talked about that earlier this week. All the great memories that we've had over the years, and all the great traveling you've done from Charlottetown to Exhibition Park Raceway and Sackville Downs, and on a route to 8,754 wins over 52,000 starts. It's amazing. Paul, I want you to start tonight, because we do have a couple of videos tonight, some pieces that we have, and also some photos. But would you share with us, take us down memory lane, what that first win was like, and do you remember the horse you had, and just take us down that trip down memory lane before we get into our other big races tonight.
Yeah, it was just like the back of my hand, Lee. I was working for Earl Smith at the time. Had a nice little chestnut horse there called Jonesy. He had 2 bow tendons. I think it was around Old Home Week too. So a guy from Tignish, a Boyd Bernard from Tignish, owned him. So Earl said, if you take him down the river and swim him the rest of the week, he said, I'll give you a spin on him. I said, that's good. I'll take that. So I run him down the river, and I put a life jacket on, make sure I wouldn't drown so I could drive him. So out we go. I swim in 2 or 3 days. I think it was on a Wednesday maybe. And they said go, and we were gone. And around the last turn, I kind of looked over my shoulder. I had 10 on them. I said, come on, Jonesy.
And that was the first win.
Yeah,
you never forget the first win, eh?
Never forget the first
We're going to
one,
take you down. No, You know what? We're going to take you down memory lane with some photos and some races here tonight. And the first one we're going to take you, one I'm sure you remember well, is 1983 of the Gold Cup and Zoster Trial with Miracle Report. And Jerry's going to set it up a little bit for you, and then we're going to get some comments from you. Jerry?
Paul's first of many starts in the Gold Cup trial in 1983 with a horse by the name of Miracle Report. He was a 4-year-old son of Miracle Chip. He hadn't raced before that year. As a 2-year-old, he was extremely sick. The vet actually advised his then owner to put him down. He didn't start racing until early in his 4-year-old season. Coming into the race, he had a record of 2-3-1. And he was invited to the field of the Crookshank Memorial, the Founders Cup, the week before in Sackville. Finished back, but he was invited to the Gold Cup trials. He was a long shot in that race. Big U was one of the favorites. He had won the Crookshank for Sonny Rankin. Another one of the favorites coming in was Glenn Reynolds, who had set a track record in the Governor's Plate that year. Also won the Ferguson Memorial and was the standout on the Maritime Free-for-All circuit that year. Miracle Report was paying over $50 to win, so nobody was real high on his chances. But Spook had different ideas. Harold Denny from Mount Uniacke, Nova Scotia, owned and trained the horse. He was only a young guy at the time. Paul was 22 years old and looking to make things work, and they sure did. They ended up setting a record that night. 2 minutes and a fifth was a record for maritime bred of any age at that time. Held on to that record for a little bit. We talked a couple of weeks ago. We were knocking on the door. PEI still hadn't had a sub 2 minute mile at that time. And he came awful close that night, surprising everybody. Didn't work out quite so well in the Gold Cup for him, but made a memory that night they'll never forget.
That's right. Ken, over to you on this race.
Yeah, Paul, could you tell me a little bit about what your strategy, if you could recall, of how you would have preferred the race to unfold, and who were your main competition that you were thinking were the ones to beat heading into this race?
Well, I thought I was the one to beat, Ken. The only thing is, I might have got a little excited. On the gas pedal there leaving. That's all. And he was a little fumbly gated anyway. That's how I got to drive him there in Sackville. He was a little bad gated. He used to wear he wore bicycle tubes in between his hobbles, he needed to keep the hobble to his legs. And I was trying to leave a little bit, maybe too much with him. Albert Bernard was on the inside of me, and I was trying to get around him. And like I said, the gas pedal might have got stuck a little bit, but he was a fast horse. Not a great gated horse, but he had a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm. So, Paul, we're going to take a look at the race now. We'll go back to 1983. This is Miracle Report, and Paul McKenzie, they'll win the trial. We'll get Paul's comments after the race.
Trial 1 has 1. Glenn Reynolds, Jody Hennessy. 2, B.J. Allen, Phil Pinckney. 3, Miracle Report, Paul McKenzie. 4, Volga Will, Mike Campbell. 5, Snappy Breeze with the Lair Pino. 6, Colombo Seals to Mike McDonald. Trailers are 7, Spinnin' Dandy, Albert Bernard. 8, Big Hugh with Sonny Rankin. Here they come. They're off, and a B.J. Allen, Miracle Report, and Colombo Seals to battle for top spot into the turn. Racing into the turn on to the 8th. Miracle Report on the outside to the top. B.J. Allen up along the rail. He's now to the front. Miracle Report on the outside second. Colombo Seals to racing third. Glenn Reynolds up along the rail fourth. Volga Will looks out at fifth. They race to the opening quarter. It's now Miracle Report to the top. Colombo Sealster on the outside second. B.J. Allen racing third. Glenn Reynolds fourth. From 5, Volga Will, then Spinnin' Dandy, Big Hugh. Snappy Breeze trails. They race by the opening quarter. 29 seconds. It's Miracle Report as they swing for the half. Colombo Sealster racing second. B.J. Allen third. Glenn Reynolds looks out at fourth. Volga Will racing a fifth. They race to the stretch for the first time to the half. It's Miracle Report on top. Colombo Sealster racing second. B.J. Allen third. Glenn Reynolds racing fourth. From 5, Volga Will, Big Hugh to the outside, 6, Spinnin' Dandy, and the Snappy Breeze trails. They race by the half into the turn to the 5/8. It's Miracle Report with the lead. Racing from 2, Colombo Sealster, 59-4 by the half. They race 2, the 3/4. It's Miracle Report. Colombo Sealster eyes the outside. Second up along the rail, Volga Will. B.J. Allen swings wide fourth. Glenn Reynolds fifth. They race by the 3/4. Miracle Report turns it on up front. Volga Will in along the rail, second. Colombo Sealster third. Here comes B.J. Allen on the outside fourth. They were by the 3/4, 1:30-1. It's Miracle Report as they swing for home. Volga Will racing second, B.J. Allen. They have an eighth of a mile left to go. It's Miracle Report. Volga Will on the outside, spinning dandy up along the rail, B.J. Allen. They race it out right down to the wire. It's all Miracle Report. Up for second, Volga Will. Looks like Big Q and the spinning dandy 4-4.
So, Paul, we take you back to that. We were chatting a couple of times throughout the week about some of the great memories we had over the years. But what was it like to line up that night with the horses and the talent that was in that race, and so many great drivers like yourself in there? What was that like in '83?
It was great. It was great fun, Lee. I knew that, like I said, that horse had talent. In Sackville there, he started to come around just when the Gold Cup and Trial and them were coming up. And like I said, I just want to leave out, and if Mike lets me go, it's good. If he don't, what am I going to do? But he let me go, and when I got the front, he felt real good. Even around the last turn, when I think, you know what, if I had shook him up just a little bit more, he might have broke 2 minutes. I don't know. He felt really good that night. I wish it had been the other way around, the Gold Cup instead of the Trial.
Well, we're certainly going to get to some of those. You had your share with Gold Cups. Before we get to some photos here, and we got the photo parade that's coming up. But before we do that, you mentioned about Sackville the week around. Could you talk a little bit about your time in Charlottetown and the amount of traveling you did working with Earl Smith at the time, and all the drivers that you competed against at different tracks? What was that like? Because you kept a very busy schedule.
Well, yeah, when I get done to school there, and then I went with Earl. I think we went to St. John too. We had a nice bunch of horses, Earl, and when Earl didn't come over, he'd say you could drive, and that was the best thing. When he didn't show up, not to say a whole lot against him, but I mean, you got to take what you can get it, eh? So we had Jerry Hall, we had Avon Ellen, we had Rebel Captain, we had one for every class, and Caldwell was he was a race secretary at the time, and he was just pretty good. And then I left there and went back home for a bit, hung around there, and then decided to go to Sackville. So landed over there and landed with Earl there too a little bit. And then I kind of went on, got on my own because him and Ronnie Gass headed to Montreal. So they left me some nice horses. And things just kind of got good from there. I got picking up catch drives off Danny Davis, Marion Ranger, my old buddy John Proud. He had a bunch of nice horses there, and we did really good. And from there, I guess I went back home for a little bit, and then I had a little red convertible at the time with a white top. And we packed her up, me, Von Doyle, Paul Dunn, and we headed to Ontario. And I met John Holmes there. He was up here at the time. The Whalen boys were here, Callie Rankin. There was a lot of Maritimers, so we kind of fitted in good. That was great.
Mm-hmm. You remember one of the things that you shared with me, which I thought was pretty neat, with all the traveling on the road, and of course leaving the track and racing to the boat, and coming home, and just before during the hoedown, you'd always catch the Exhibition Park Raceway results with the late Inga Palmer. That was something we never missed.
No, we never missed it. It was always good. You always hear Inga Palmer. We had 8 Island winners. Francis McCarthy get 5, Wally Hennessy had 3, and away we go again. He was always good with the Islanders.
Yeah, always lead on it. All right, we're going to take you to another segment in here, Paul. Just stand by. We're going to roll the intro for our photo parade. We don't have post parades yet back on the track, but we hope they're going to be back soon. And but we're going to roll this special segment here to bring you back to some great photos with the photo parade here on the virtual Tack Room. All right. So, Will, you mentioned Exhibition Park Raceway here. This photo that's coming up, we'll see how you remember this. Over to you, Peter, to set this up back to 1976.
Well, Paul, I don't know if you remember the night, but I have the details for you, and hopefully you will. Shout out to Kent McPhee, who filled us in on this photo, Paul. I believe that's you at the horse's head there on the far left. You were grooming that night, I believe, for Alec McPhee. And I'll just take you through the names here and then get your comments on this. Paul, that's you at the horse's head, as we mentioned. There's a rep there from CFBC, the race sponsor. That's Miss Canada 1976. Sylvia McGuire from Nova Scotia, Alec McPhee, who drove the winner that night. Next to Alec is Stevie Mason, and then next to Stevie is Ricky McPhee, and then next to Ricky is Tommy Thorne, who was an avid EPR race fan. Apparently, as Kent McPhee says, this was a Tuesday night, Paul, in St. John during A&E week. Tara Horn was the winner. That's Tara Horn, the horse there, over Dandy Barron and Everett Matthews, 2, 2, and 4, a season's mark for EPR, and the fastest trip in the Maritimes year to date that year. Paul, do you remember the night at all?
Yeah, I got a pretty good idea about that. Well, I could always rub one pretty good. Though, and I don't know how I got to Paddy Kim. I think I just hopped on the bus with the boys and I took a drive over, and I think I got to look after Tarhorn. And yeah, I got an idea about that night, and it was a good night. Like I said, I think he set a track record, Tarhorn that night.
Yeah, he did, Paul. He was 2, 2, and 4 that night, and we'll move on to the next one. Kent, I'll throw it over to you.
Yes, this is the
Silver Scott.
winner circle. Jerry, sorry, Jerry, if you could, I think Jerry has the details on this one.
Sure, not a problem.
Yeah, Silver Scott.
Back in 2000 in the Gold Cup Consolation, you didn't make the Gold Cup final that year, but you did get made a break with this horse in the trial. Came back and won the consolation on Friday night as the favorite. Silver Scott for Dave McGuinness. He took down Silver Chloe that year as well. He ended up in a dead heat for second in the Gold Cup. You got the consolation prize.
Yeah,
Anything
he was,
else you remember about that night, Spook?
that night. I don't remember. No, I know that horse there he was a nice horse. I win quite a few trials. I get lucky in the finals. I don't know if I couldn't take the pressure or what, but we had some fun. Dave McGuinness and his boys there. There's Kirby and Jason. Yeah, they're good guys. I remember we talked about going down, and he said he'd give me a ride in that horse, and he was a nice horse too. And that mare was a great mare too, Chloe.
Sure was, yeah. This horse came back and won a trial for Dave 2 years later. So he sure was a nice animal.
I believe he did. Yeah, he was a nice horse, yeah. I just had bad luck at certain times, but in the trials we had good luck.
Yeah. Here was another trial with a lot of good luck.
Silent Swing.
Yeah, 2006. Set the track record, the maritime record, and Canadian record all at once. Won the trial in 51-1. Of course, went into the final as one of the favorites, but it turned to rain midway through the night that night. And that was one of the years where it just didn't work out in the end. He ended up finishing second. Banner Yankee won it all. One of your 8 trial victories over the years. Pretty nice horse to drive.
Yeah, he was a good horse to drive. He was pretty well forward. I mean, all he had to do was pull in the right line or go to front. I mean, he liked the front. I think that night in the mud too, I think I was trying to follow Mike, and every time I moved, Mike moved, and we kind of get bumped around a little bit. I might even talk to Buddy Shepard there in the lower turn one time, but other than that, yeah, we kind of get screwed around a little bit. Like you said, it was muddy, and I was trying to follow Mike, and every time I moved, he kind of gave me a little bump. But that's the way it goes sometimes in the mud.
You did have the long journey that night for sure.
Yeah, I don't really want to talk about that one.
No, he came back to win it next year. Unfortunately, not for you.
No, that was my time, and like I said, it was just like you said. It just took the rain. It was just enough rain to kind of make it miserable, and We were trying to pull glasses down and see where you're going, and I just was at the wrong spot at the wrong time, I guess.
Well, you did have 8,390 seconds, and that had to be one of them, and then 8,198 thirds. So you've had a fantastic career, Paul. No doubt about that. And we were saying the other night, there's so many different races that you've been in over the years, whether it's here in the Maritimes or, of course, in Ontario, big races, and a lot of different horses that you've driven all have different traits. And as you say, you set up a race for something like that on a good track, and then it rains, and it changes the whole game plan.
Yeah, well, visibility is a very key in some of the big races. Then you got that split second, either you made the right one or you made the wrong one. And like I said, I just got in the wrong spot. If it had been dry and I was following Mike, it might have been a different story. Like I said, I just get shot every time I move. Mike trying to give me a little bump, but that, like I said, that happens in racing and big races. You get a little anxious, you get a little excited, and you only got that split second to make that move. But things like that happen sometimes.
We're going to take you back to a race I know you're quite familiar with, and a horse you're quite familiar with, and actually, with some of the photos that we've had over the years in at Red Shores as well, and some of those great photos. 1993, and this horse here, Little Black Book, and Jerry set up a little bit of background for us on Little Black Book and the Cup and Saucer in '93.
Sure. Going back to Old Home Week in 1993 was very different for a lot of reasons. One was we had free trials for the very first time. We had a Saturday afternoon trial that year. Shannon Commander and Gary McDonald won that race, 156-3. They were just a month previous the first combo to ever pace in 55 over a half-mile track when they set the track record up in Fredericton. Trial 2 that year, we talked about a little earlier tonight, Claire McDonald and Kilkerran Ingle. They were coming in hot off their Exhibition Cup victory. Trial 3, Monday evening trial, we had a horse Mike McDonald took down that was racing at the Meadowlands. Rocket LaRue was the favorite in that race, but the second favorite turned out getting the job done in spectacular flat fashion. Little Black Book, for trainer, driver, Paul McKenzie, shocked everybody with a 154 flat track, maritime, and Canadian record mile that night. And it was just spectacular. I remember it like yesterday. So coming into the Saturday night feature that year, everybody was looking for more of the same. We got all the best lined up now, but the night didn't turn out quite as planned. It was cold. The high that evening was 13 degrees. I remember it was one of those years where Old Home Week ended before the Gold Cup ended. But she was still spectacular. She went out and went within a second of that Canadian record that she had established on Monday night. We also had lots of maritime content in the Gold Cup that year. 3 maritime breds besides Kilkerran Ingle. There were Some Nights Catch and Christopher C. Down from Milton Downey's stable. We also had a couple of other maritime-owned horses like Fair Park with Von Doyle, and Winds of Peace was also in that race. So set up for a memorable race that most fans will never forget.
So Kent, over to you with your comments on, we all have great memories of Little Black Book, and you're up next.
Spook, before you came to PEI that year with Little Black Book, did you sometime in your thought process think, this mare's really good right now, I might have a shot at the track record?
Well, Kent, there's a little story to that. I'm driving horses for Joe Stutzman at the time, and on the B track, he had a bunch of A horses, he had B tracks, so he sent me a couple over that belonged to the Millers, and it was just around Old Home Week time. It was around Old Home Week, so I'm told George Jr. that I said I'm going home for Old Home Week. I said I'm going to give your stock maybe a little week off, and I want to go home and visit my friends and family and stuff. And I said, he said, well, what kind of horse do you need? I said, well, you got to either have one that can get off the wings and get around the half pretty good, or it's got to be able to take a little air on. So he mentioned Little Black Book. He said Stutzman got her. She's racing preferred fillies and mares at Greenwood. I said, really? I said, she could probably do the job, yeah. And she loves a half. She can pace a turn just as like a small sports car. So he said, go see Joe and pick her up, and you can venture with her to PEI. And I'm going to tell my father and mother that you're going to take her down, and maybe they'll go down for a visit and watch her go. So that's pretty well how Little Black Book got to the island, got to the Gold Cup. And the older George and his wife, Senior, they thought PEI was the greatest spot in the world when Little Black Book won the trial, and they were going to the corner stores and going to restaurants and stuff, and everybody was talking about Little Black Book, and they couldn't believe this. They thought it was just great.
Paul, before we take a look at the race, in the final, leaving, did you want to control the front end? Did you want to control it that night, gate to wire?
Yeah, the same as the trial, like in the trial and the goal. She, like I said, she could do it either way, but she could step off the wings. Just got to ask her a little bit, and she could pace a turn like a hoop around a barrel. I mean, she was just push button. Anybody, she wasn't hard to drive. I could have got my groom Gary Devine. He probably could have got the job done. But no, she was good.
Paul, just before we go to the race again, what was it like, a kid growing up in PEI hitting the wire first, winning the Gold Cup?
Peter, it's like everybody I talked to that won the Gold Cup. It's very you get shivers right down the back of your neck, and it's probably one of the greatest feelings you ever get. I mean, I grew up there and watched everybody win it year after year, and when she won it, like I said, it's just unforgettable. It's just the greatest feeling that you could ever have, especially around PEI when you're watching everybody else win it and stuff like that. I mean, it's just the greatest race. I mean, I won some $100,000 races up here, but it still never was the same as the Gold Cup with her.
I'm telling you, it was something else, and Paul described it perfectly. Let's watch it now. Little Black Book in the 1993 Gold Cup in Saucer.
Off and pacing a Little Black Book quickly away to take him into there. Christopher Sedana racing second, Winds of Peace the outside, driving third. Then you move into the first turn. Little Black Book is showing the way up front. Racing second is Christopher Sedana. Winds of Peace parked down third. Kilkerringle comes away fourth. Rocket everyone the outside in five. They race two, the opening quarter, and a Little Black Book is showing the way up front. Christopher Sedana is racing second, Winds of Peace wide third. Fourth is Kilkerringle, Rocket Livery racing fifth. Some Nice Catch, Similar Magnific Fair Park, and Shannon Commander trails 28 and 2 by the opening quarter. Off the top turn they come. Little Black Book is showing the way up front. Christopher Sedana racing second. Winds of Peace is parked on the outside third. Fourth at the rail is Kilkerringle, Rocket Livery wide in five, and it's Some Nice Catch, Similar Magnific Fair Park, and Shannon Commander trails 5 in, 4 out. 57 and 3 by the half-mile mark. They have 3/8 left to go, and a Little Black Book is your leader, and she's turning it on. There goes a Little Black Book. A Little Black Book is turning it on. Look at her go by 3 open legs. A Little Black Book by 4. She's looking for more, and she's getting it. Little Black Book by 5. 1:26 and 4. Little Black Book by 5. Christopher C. down. Can she do it again? Little Black Book and Paul McKenzie. Little Black Book and Paul McKenzie win the Gold Cup and Saucer. Christopher C. down second. Kilkerringle will be 3.
So, Paul, as we roll the video there and the crowd there that night, absolutely a massive, massive crowd there that night back in the day when we had folks in the center field. But I'm interested to know when you hit the 3/4 going down the backstretch there and she just sort of zoomed, Is that when you just asked her and she just took off there? Because that race call with Boomer saying, "Look at her go," that's something that a lot of people never forget when she just took off there.
Yeah, like I told you, Lee, she's pretty push button. You just touch her in a way. Especially, I got a nice little breather there, second quarter, and like when I asked her, she was gone. I think the first trial, I think she could have went a little bit more. But I was just wanting to save a little for the final. But that was a real nice night. It was a real nice warm night. Like Jerry said about the Gold Cup itself, it might have been a little cooler, and she might have stepped off a little bit more there too. But I'm sure the trial night, I could have let her stretch her legs a little bit more.
I wanted to ask you before we go to a photo here, Paul. In the paddock, prior to going out on post parade, especially Gold Cup night, the entire paddock is empty. There's only the 8 horses left, the drivers and the groom in there, and you see that the lights are going out. You've been part of this show for so many years. That wait that you have to have before that post parade, and sometimes it can be a little long. What's that like down there? And you must have seen some other drivers that are competing for the first time in it. That must be quite a time to be standing there waiting to go out for the Gold Cup.
You want to believe it, Lee? I like to have a couple of Coors Light right by that time, but but no, you gotta just be patient. You're trying to think. You're just trying to focus on what you got to do and how it's going to go. And then at that time, it was Butchie Ward, so he would tell you it'd be meet me up in the turn, and we'd score down the spotlight. And that's where you get a little shivery then. But then when they swing behind the wings, it's a different story. You can focus on what you think you should do, and I mean it doesn't always go that way. But you're going to focus on. My plan was to try and cut it and get a breather and hope to get the job done. But most of the time, it's a little nerve wracking. Yeah, you kind of walk back and forth. You're pacing. You're patting your boots and you're twitching and turning and stuff like that. But like I said, once you get the racetrack and get behind the gate, things kind of cool down and she's game on.
I think this is a great photo here, guys. I believe we do have the photo that's coming up. This shot here, Paul, you've got so many photos in your career, but walk through this photo here, Jerry and Peter and Kent on this winner's circle shot here. It's fabulous.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Well, we see Paul in the middle, of course. Dr. Don Ling, to his right, was the president at that time, I believe, of the CDP. Presume that's the owner, George Miller, and his wife with the Gold Cup trophy on the left. Miss Gold Cup and Saucer, and a jubilant. Back then, of course, we'd have literally hundreds of people surrounding the winner's circle. I think Byron Ferguson is just behind Paul, would be a cousin of Paul's, I believe. But there was many extras that crowded the Gold Cup winner's circle back in those days.
Paul, what do you remember most about the night?
Most about the night. Well, there was a great party after. We had it down in Paul Doyle's barn, and there was lots of people in and out. The beers were nice and cold, and after winning that, it's all just a kind of a blur. I mean, like I said, it's a great time. Just Old Home Week is a great time. If you can't make a good time out of it, you're in the wrong spot.
Paul, one more quick one for me. You won over 8,000 races, as Lee said, but still coming home every year, the Gold Cup and Old Home Week, is it still the best for you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's more all my family friends are. You get out golfing, you have a few pops, and you meet everybody. You tell stories. Some are good, some are bad. Might be the odd lie too, I guess. Maybe, I don't know. But anyways, it all works out. And like I said, if you can't have a good time all home week, and I love to drive a few, and Vance gives you a little thanks for coming back. And I don't know. I don't think I ever missed one. Tell you the truth.
don't think so.
Ken, just before we let Paul go here, I want to get you in on the final comments for Paul McKenzie.
Certainly, well, congratulations on a tremendous career, Paul, which is still ongoing and very successfully. But, you know, as Lee mentioned, you're heading for 9,000 wins, which is an incredible total. You've had tremendous success over the years, Paul, as a catch driver too. What do you feel is the an asset that you're able to connect with horses so quickly and get a big effort out of them in some of the first times that you drive them?
I think, Kent, probably my left hand. I think I woke a few of them up with the left hand. They're just a little different. I don't know. There's a few more left-handed drivers out now, but back when I was on a roll there, I think I might have been maybe one or two left-handers, and the southpaw, I think, helped me out a lot. I don't know. It just kind of made them go a little further. I could carry them a little further or something, but and then we had some crazy bikes at the time too that used to help me out, but. Like I say, I think mostly my left hand is probably one of my biggest things in the harness racing.
Well, Paul, you know what? It's been fabulous to talk to you. I know that last week we teed you up and wanted to get set up on the show, and this week you've had an opportunity to join us, and we could talk all night in tack rooms. You know, we do that, but we are running out of time.
There's nothing better than that. Hey, we got the beer on ice. It's good.
So Paul McKenzie joining us tonight from all of us here in the virtual tack room, and I know a lot of fans watching tonight, family watching here. Thanks for joining us tonight. Stay safe, and we hope to see you this whole home week.
Yeah, okay, you guys too. I got a couple of shout outs there, Lee, to my wife Sue, my girls Hillary and Taylor, to Ed Doucette and the clan, Gordy Ford, John Proud. Me and him had great luck, and Gary Devine was my groom of Little Black Book. I mean, it all was good, and it's great to be on, and I'm glad this guy's got this show going. It's great enjoyment.
All right. Thanks very much, Paul. Have a great night.
Okay, guys, stay safe.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul.
Okay, so virtual tack room, we're getting ready for the 3/4 now. We're going to take it home for a stretch drive. We have something special coming up with Ocean 100 tonight and Hot 105.5. That's coming up as well. We have a get well soon going out to Dylan Andrew. I know watching tonight, Dylan had a bit of a mishap earlier this week or just recently, and we just want to say we're thinking of you, Dylan. Hope you get well soon, and thanks for tuning in to the show tonight. But when we talk about great careers and a young guy that's really making a name for himself here, started here on Prince Edward Island, of course, and now making his way in Ontario, coming off a big nomination for the O'Brien Awards. And we have Austin Sorey right now on the line joining us in the virtual tack room. Austin, are you there?
Yeah. You there?
Hey, Austin. How you doing?
There you are.
Pretty good. Yourself?
Austin.
Great. So, Austin, first of all, I just want to ask, how are you doing? You're back home in Prince Edward Island?
Yeah, back home for a bit.
Okay. And when did you make your way back home? And
I was back home the first of the month.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, we got a special race coming up here, one of your big performance wins at Woodbine Mohawk Park. I want to start with you. Give us a little background for the viewers tonight. You were big, of course, with harness racing family. Tell us a little bit of your early memories of it being around the track, around the barn, and of course, talk a little bit about the matinee track program, which you started as well.
I used to go to the track all the time, every chance I could. I'd skip school all the time, whenever I was allowed to go. And the matinee program's really good. You get an early start. You learn how to drive horses that are lame and just don't go as fast as normally, but it's a good thing going.
Who was a big influence for you, of course, growing up as a young person? Who were some of the folks that you were around a lot and consider getting involved in the sport?
Be my father. Bert Honkoop used to have horses down his barn, and used to have horses out with Cindy McDonald's. We're out there all the time.
We have Ken Oates and Jerry McCabe along with Peter McPhee here tonight, and the guys are going to get into the fray here. Jerry, over to you with some conversation with young Austin Sorey tonight.
Sure, thanks, Lee. Can you tell me a little bit about an important horse or two that you've had so far in your young life, Austin, that really made an impression on you or helped you along the way?
Well, the first horse I got my first time win with the Best of Me. He helped out a lot for down here, and in Ontario, it'd be Bugs McGuire. He was a big help. He was a nice horse to drive. And I got to take care of him myself. So,
Austin, tell us about your first pari-mutuel win. You talked about doing well in Panette, but your first pari-mutuel win, take us through that day.
well, the horse was only good in the front because he didn't like to pass, so I knew I had to get him there. So as soon as I got him there, I figured I'd be all right, and he just kind of went from there.
And that was the Best of Me?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kent.
Austin, welcome home, and congratulations on the really successful start to your young career. Austin, who's some of the drivers in the industry that you most admire and really like to pattern yourself after?
There's a lot of them there. It's hard to pick a few because there's a lot of good drivers.
Can you tell us a little bit about Austin, the move here? You started off your first pari-mutuel win, but you really got on a roll there, and with some of the wins that you had and some of the horses. Talk a little bit about what that was like, especially your first year driving, and before you made the move to Ontario.
It was something that don't happen very often. Your father has a bunch of horses, and you get to drive them all, and they all done good that year, and all I had to do was sit there and go with them. There's a few there I had to make a few moves, but they're all pretty good horses, and they fit the classes, and Dad classified them good.
Austin, you talked about Bugsy McGuire. We're going to show a race at Woodbine Mohawk Park in a second, but he did very well here. You had a big win with him here last year during Old Home Week. What is it about him that makes him a really nice horse?
He don't mind being roughed up. He can leave a bit. And I think the thing that makes him a nice horse is you can drive him first up and you don't really mind it.
Before we go to Woodbine Mohawk Park and the win there, tell us about the win Old Home Week because that had to be some win on Gold Cup night.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But Euclid, he's a good, nice horse, and I knew if I could get them to sting him somehow, I'd beat him. So if he got his own way, there was no way I was going to beat him. So I got Louis out there, and Louis got caught out and kept pushing. He had to remove on Louis and kind of took the sting out of him.
Quite a winner's circle after as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out for that.
Just before we get to the race, and Peter's going to throw to the race here, but Austin, I want to talk a little bit about what was it like with the move to Ontario and getting settled up there and some of the people that you're around at the time. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
The people I was around at the time, they were real good to me. People like Jay Harris and Patrick Shepard. Jay gave me a spot to live there for a year, and Patrick gave me a shot at driving some of his horses, and it kind of just took off from there.
So Lee, we're going to go to a race last December at Woodbine Mohawk Park. Going into the race, Austin, Bugsy, I think, was 9-1. What were you thinking going in there?
I wasn't really sure what he was going to do because I'd never seen him race on a big track before, so I was just hoping and praying.
And when you won that race at Woodbine Mohawk Park, I mean, that's got to be a thrill for a kid with PEI.
Yeah, I was just hoping to get checked my first lifetime drive at Mohawk, so to win it was pretty cool.
He was huge. Let's go to the race now and watch Austin's win last December.
The gate swings into the stretch for tonight's 10th race. Here they come. They're off and pacing. I'm Sporty got wheel disc out of there as he'll try and charge his way to the front. He's going to have to outstep Bugsy McGuire closer to the inside. Darkest Secret. There goes Bugsy McGuire shooting his way to the front. I'm Sporty parked out pressing. Darkest Secret third. From the extreme outside, fourth. There's Always in the money. Scooting up the inside, Shadow Me the Money. Then it's back to Officer Jones, followed by Don't Write Me Out. The final two in the field, Smooth Mara and Par Intended Trails. 27 flat, they rocked that first quarter. I'm Sporty on the lead for Drury, takes the field up to 3/8. Bugsy McGuire second, Darkest Secret third, Shadow Me the Money from in fourth, 15 inside to Always in the Money. Then it's back sixth to Officer Jones. Don't Write Me Out from in seventh now. Eighth inside to Smooth Mara. Getting underway from last is Par Intended. Field almost up to the midway point. I'm Sporty, pretty full of himself as he's loose in the lead tonight. 56-1 the first half. Back into second, Bugsy McGuire. Darkest Secret third. Shadow Me the Money from in fourth. 15 inside to Always in the Money. Then Overland from in sixth is Officer Jones. He's stalling. Yet to really step forward out there. He holds up the backfield. Par Intended stuck in traffic. So too at the inside is Don't Write Me Out. And the trailer around the final turn is Smooth Mara. Darkest Secret putting in some steps there on the final turn. Race leader I'm Sporty about to be confronted by Bugsy McGuire. 3/4 in 124, and they come into the stretch. Still they're at the rail as I'm Sporty. Here on the outside comes Bugsy McGuire. Darkest Secret back into third, still with some pace. Outside fourth is Shadow Me the Money. They're in deep stretch. To the front is Bugsy McGuire. Darkest Secret coming through between. Then outside Shadow Me the Money. Par Intended from the backfield. It's Bugsy McGuire to win this one by 3 lengths. Bugsy McGuire, Shadow Me the Money, then Darkest Secret, Par Intended, and up for fifth was Officer Jones.
So there's a great look at the race there. Bugsy McGuire winning at Woodbine Mohawk Park. Austin, I'm interested to know what you were feeling like that day, getting ready to go to Woodbine, and what it was like to arrive there that night, knowing that you're going to be driving on the big track.
I was a little nervous at the start, and then after you got on the track, it all settled down. Just it was like another race.
What about some of the people in the paddock that night, and what was that experience like? And were you in the driver's room? And tell us about the setup prior to the race.
Yeah, everybody was just talking, like giving me good luck and stuff in the race, and the driver's room there is pretty cool. It's a nice spot to get changed.
Austin, you've driven a lot in Ontario now. What's the biggest difference driving there compared to the Maritimes?
There's big half miles up there. Like, there's no like shutting them down. You keep rolling up there, and if you try to shut them down, they're always coming at you. You don't really get a break.
And you gave a shout out to Patrick Shepard, and I know that's important because he's given you quite a few drives, and you need somebody like that to sort of break in up there.
Yeah, you need a stable. It helps a lot because you go there with nothing, and no one knows who you are, and it's hard to get your name out there.
Do you think, Austin, so far too, being there, have you learned a lot in the first year there, being driving as much as you have right now? And you seem to be getting a lot of respect from a lot of the other drivers as well. They're talking about you a lot, and so it must be a really great feeling the way things are rolling out for you right now in Ontario.
Yeah, I learned a lot. There's a pile of different ways to drive horses on different tracks now. Like, you go to London, there's no passing lane, so you got to make sure you're out before you get caught in. And then at Flamborough, it's more like ride the rail as long as you can because you got the pass lane and get quite a bit of room there down the stretch.
I'm interested to know what your day-to-day, how many hours a day? Is it long days, long nights with the travel in Ontario?
The days are not bad. It's like on your way to the races, London's an hour and 15 from where I live. So you got to leave 2 hours before the races because you got to blow in an hour before, which I'm always late to blow in, so because I always sleep in. And you don't get home until mostly 1 o'clock from London. Flamborough's not so bad. It's only a half hour from the house. So.
Mm-hmm. What's your favorite track so far in Ontario to drive at?
I got two. I like Flamborough and I like Hanover. It's Hanover's a quiet little track. There's more like hobby horsemen down there. Like, they have their own little horse that race there every year, and it's a lot of fun racing there. They all love it.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot with here. Look, I want to get your comments. We're going to bring up a picture here, and then I'm going to get your comments on how you felt when you get your nomination for the O'Brien Awards on Future Star.
Well, I was waiting on my phone that day, waiting. They were going through them all, and I was getting nervous. And I was like, well, if I don't get it, it's pretty cool just to be nominated. And then it came up, it was me and Dave Kelly, and then it was just all from there. Just nerves kept on building up until the day came. Then after I got there, it was just go with the flow. It was tons of fun, and hopefully we can do it again.
There's a shot there with your dad, of course, Wade Sorry, Tammy Collins, myself, and you, and everybody's decked out that night. And it must have been quite an experience of walking in and to be part of that and seeing all the people that were there tonight. What's one thing that stood out for you the most at the O'Brien Awards?
The way they do everything up there, it's for the O'Brien Awards. It's nothing like you see down here for any other awards down here.
You enjoyed the night?
Yeah, it was a fun night, and you just go out drinking and have fun all night. Like, it's a night you'll never forget if you go.
Yeah. You know, it would have been much better with the win, of course, but we know one thing, that this won't be your first time nominated for sure. I know that Louis Philippois and Bob McClure, that were doing some tee-ups prior to the O'Brien Awards, as you know, a lot of video clips and a lot of things, and they spoke very highly of you as one of the rising stars. How did that make you feel?
It feels pretty cool for them to be talking about me like that. When you're starting out driving on a B track and people like that notice you.
What's your goals going into next year? Hopefully we'll resume soon. Austin, what are your goals for the future?
Well, it started off to double what I had last year, so now it's just work on for whatever I can get. Hopefully it ends up good, and set new goals next year.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, you know what? It's a pleasure to have you on. We wanted to take the opportunity. We knew that you were going to be home for a little bit, or we thought that was the plan. And hopefully, with everything gets back on track here, you'll be back to Ontario and hopefully back home for Old Home Week and all those. So I know you got a lot of family and friends here. You're making a great impact in Ontario and making a really great name for yourself. A lot of hard work as a young man growing up, and you should be very proud, and we're proud to have you on the show tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Austin.
All right.
All the best.
Austin Sorry on the show tonight in the virtual Tack room. And you know what, guys, there's another wrap on the show tonight. As I check the time here, about 10:44. And you know, it's when you get into these conversations and you go back to some of these great videos and have young stars like Austin Sorry on the show, it just time gets away from you because we're having too much fun.
It was great again, Lee, tonight. Claire McDonald, oh, wow. You could, as you mentioned, she has so many stake stars, so many great horses over the years. She was terrific. Paul McKenzie, the stories that guy has, Lee, unbelievable. And as you mentioned, Austin, his career is just going to take off. He's a rising star, no doubt. So, Lee, another bang-up show tonight. Really enjoyed it.
Now, we know this time of year, Kent and Jerry, it's, you know, breeding is so important here on Prince Edward Island. And, you know, we have a photo here, Kent. I'm going to ask you to take us through this that came in here today. Just an awesome photo. Tell us about this photo and where it came from.
Well, as you mentioned, Lee, it's a really busy time at all the farms across Maritimes and across North America. And this is a photo of a foal that Garth Cole was good enough to send in. This is an hilarious halo out of his mare Promise Me Hanover. And we just wanted to give a shout out and recognition to all the people. We're putting in some long days up checking mares through the nights, and a lot of foals arriving, and we'll also be so over the next few weeks. And a lot of time putting into planning what mares to match to what stallions. And you know, the foals like this, they're going to be our 2-year-olds for 2022 and to race and beyond. And it's really important that we continue to our emphasis on the breeding sector. we will be back racing at some point, and it's really important to continue to produce horses here in the Maritime provinces. So we just wanted to give a shout out to all the people who are really busy on the breeding farms in the Maritimes at this time.
All right, well done and well said. Thank you very much. Well, we're going to say good nights now. Peter, out to you in Cornwall. Another fantastic show tonight. Stay safe, my friend, and we will talk to you soon.
Yeah, and again, Lee, I jumped the gun there a little bit. Sorry about that. Again, thanks to everybody that came on tonight. And yeah, please stay home, stay safe. And if we do that, Lee, hopefully we'll see each other in person down the road.
It's a virtual tack room. Nobody jumps the gun. It could go for hours if we wanted it to. Jerry McCabe, always great to have you, of course, on the show here tonight. Another strong show. Stay safe for you and your family, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you, Lee. Appreciate that. Everybody have a good week. Thank you for all our viewers for tuning in and for everybody's positive comments over the last several weeks. Shout out to Barney and Brenda McGuigan that are following along tonight and have been faithfully since the start. And everybody, stay safe. Keep practicing the things that we have to do so we can be back together as soon as possible.
All right, and I know that there's some great photos and stuff that come in. One of Barney McGuigan we're trying to get to. Robbie Hughes also sent in a video of the Blue Knight in action here. We're hoping to get some of those photos and videos as well. So we do appreciate those coming in. Ken Oakes, finally over to you tonight. Another fantastic show. You know that I'll be talking to you multiple times in the evening throughout the week, but it's always great to have you, of course, part of the virtual tack room. Another great show tonight. Good night to you.
Good night to everybody, and thanks to everyone that's tuning in and watching, the interest in the show. Our special thanks certainly to Claire and to Paul and to Austin for joining us. And you know, we've spent some time during our conversations, the four of us, as to all the great stories that we have to look forward to on the future telecasts of Virtual Tack Room, and we really look forward to the future with that.
All right, so thanks to the Atlantic Province's Harness Racing Commission for their sponsorship tonight in the Virtual Tack Room. We're going to leave you with something very special. Now, Hot 105.5 and Ocean 100 have been putting together some great videos in this time where they're sharing it in the community and sharing it with business communities and essential workers, everyone that we're very, very proud of, and as a matter of fact, very thankful of all of our health professionals and everyone that's involved in it. But every now and then, you just got to take an opportunity to reach out to your neighbor or reach out to other family members or somebody in this time while we stay apart but try to come together. And we're going to leave you tonight with a special edition of Lean on Me by Hot 105.5 and Ocean 100. Good night.
Sometimes in our lives we all have pain, and we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow.
Lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
So please swallow your pride. If I have things you need to borrow,
for no one can fill those of your needs that you won't let show.
Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand.
we all need somebody to lean on.
I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on.
Lean on me
when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend.
I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on.
Just call on me, brother, when you need a hand.
We all need somebody to lean on.
I just might have a problem that you'll understand.
We all need somebody to lean on. So if
There is a load you have to bear that you can't carry,
Right up the road, I'll share your load. If you just call me,
call me,
need a friend.
call me, oh, call me. If you need a friend, call me, oh, call me. Call me if you need a friend.
Call me.